I think going almost back to 1976, the Coastal Act of 1976. I'm not sure it's changed a whole lot in this area, although at one point it did include all of Aliso Viejo. That's how far the coastal zone went inland. But the boundary is politically set, so the Coastal Commission is an agency of limited jurisdiction by state law, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So in our coastal zone, which is concurrent or congruent with our local coastal program, which is the limited delegation of planning authority that the city is given in that particular politically defined area, how many, if you can venture a guess, and I'll ask anybody at the city staff desk over there, how many of those residential areas are organized into homeowners associations and with reciprocal covenants, conditions, and restrictions?
I don't have a definitive numerical number, but it's fair to say it's the majority of that area are within homeowners associations.
And I may have missed it earlier, but under this proposed ordinance, there is an allowance for those common interest subdivisions to self-determine whether or not within their project areas short-term rentals will be allowed or disallowed. Is that correct?
That's correct. An applicant has to demonstrate that a short-term rental is permitted within their CC&Rs or by their homeowner association.
And the Coastal Commission had no problem with that?
They did not.
And I think it's important to point out a good example is Beach Road. Beach Road has dealt with this issue, and every time during I've been here, I've asked them to deal with it at the local level. They've passed because they said, well, half of our owners participate in the vacation rentals, the other half don't. We don't want to divide the community, but I think it really speaks to the fact that, you know, the true local control is that, you know, if, by way of example, was the those covenants that draw homeowners together, whether it be a special district such as Beach Road or an HOA, if you will.
So if I can just ask Ursula one more question. Was there discussion in the very long period of time that the Coastal Commission was considering the proposed LCPA, was there spirited debate over whether or not that private self-determination should apply in the coastal zone?
Yes, so initially, Coastal Commission staff was not in favor of that. There were a few other things as well. They wanted a minimum of a one-night stay. I will say, in my limited experience, this was the most collaborative that they've been, and they did end up agreeing that they would recommend to the commission to allow the restriction with the HOAs. They would allow the two-night minimum and a few other things that we were able to negotiate. But initially, that was not something that they were happy about.
But in their final recommendation, which I understand we either accept or reject in its entirety this evening, or find that the whole thing lapses as of October 14th, and there may not be that position on the table.
Correct.
After that point in time. They did agree with the city's position on that. So they said they agreed to the permitting of the short-term rentals, but they also said that these properties who have invested time, energy, money in a common interest subdivision arrangement could privately opt out of it and get the imprimatur of the city and by extension the commission to do that.
Correct.
Okay, that's all for now, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Just two quick questions. I originally had one, but Mr. Schoeffel brought up a term that kind of confused me. What is a politically defined boundary for the Okay, all right, but it's defined by where the ESHA is, and right? I mean, that's how they did it. They didn't just come out politically say, we think this is where we should have control. That's just for me. I don't know. It really doesn't have anything to do with this discussion.
That's exactly what happened when the law was passed.
Okay.
It's politically defined. The Santa Monica Mountains used to be included in the coastal zone. So.
Okay, I didn't understand what that term meant. I didn't know if it was like redistricting for a congressional seat or something like that. My other question is, do we have a map outlining where the coastal zone is in Dana Point tonight that we can put up and show people what we're talking about? I'm sorry I didn't ask for that earlier. It just dawned on me that we should probably have that.
We don't have it with us tonight.
Yeah, do we have it on a website anywhere that,
It's readily accessible on the city's website. It's just something that, because we're operating out of the community center this evening, we don't have the ability to easily put up on the screen, but it is a readily available document.
okay, thank you.
Okay, I see no further questions from council members. We'll move on to public comments.